Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Minor Details as the four voices of the full season Cubs affiliates in minor league baseball who are winding down the 2025, easy for me to say, season get together here and talk a little bit about the last couple of weeks, which have certainly been eventful. We've got Connor Nelson from Knoxville, Brendan King, BK from South Bend, Luke Maley in Myrtle Beach. I'm Jason Kemp in Iowa. And we're going to talk a little bit about the clinching of the playoff berth in Myrtle Beach. And BK, what's going on in South Bend as we got ready for a potential playoff race. But first, I think most importantly, we need to spend a little bit of time on Richie Giuliano, who, for whatever reason, couldn't be here. And this is no offense to Connor at all. But he assumed this was an hour later than it was, despite, I think, repeatedly myself texting in the group text 10 a.m. Central to be clear. Does anybody disagree with the fact that it was made clear that it was Central Time?
No, a little disappointed there. Obviously, I think he's just still feeling the effects of being in Myrtle Beach for one weekend,
That's
right?
where I was going with it.
Too many pizza burgers.
One too many.
It's an undulant schedule that Richie has, and it's tough for him to weave, in and out of his items.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
he's the man here in Knoxville. He's all over right. Randy Boyd's Instagram now too. You got to go check him out. Featured there all the time. It's great.
Well, the main headline is that besides Richie not being here last minute because he can't read, is Myrtle Beach making the playoffs. So congrats on calling some playoff baseball, Luke. But it's sort of an odd scenario where you're playing Columbia, who's going to be your first round opponent in a best-of-3 series for the last 6 games of the regular season. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's really interesting because not only is it a series, a 6-game set against the team you're going to play in the playoffs, but for both teams, the playoff spot is already secured. The Birds secured it on the road in Fayetteville last Thursday. So that was with 9 games left to play in the regular season. So they did it early. Columbia won the first half of the Carolina League South Division. So these games, mean something for development, but in terms of scheduling, whatever, there isn't any meaning behind the games. So they're getting ready and tuned up for the playoffs. But these teams have seen each other so often this year and in this final week that you're not hiding anything. There's not going to be any secret weapon coming out of the bullpen or anything like that for either teams. Everyone has seen everything. All cards are on the table. Should be a ton of fun. Columbia struggled in the second half, but they've turned it around since some of those draft picks from the Royals this year have come to town. And so it's going to be a really evenly matched series. The Pelicans offense has been the best in the Carolina League, scored the most runs this year. But the starting pitching for Columbia is lights out. It's been fun to see this week. The first 3 guys, the 3 guys for Columbia that we expect to be those starters, the Birds have had a little bit of success against. So we'll see what comes on Tuesday. That best-of-3 series starts here in Myrtle Beach on Tuesday. That's the 9th of September.
All right, BK, on the other side of this, last time we spoke, it was a couple of big weeks for you guys in a first-place tie. I don't think you saw a sweep in Peoria in the cards, but what happened with the South Bend Cubs?
Yeah, sadly, did not see the sweep coming because it's especially stinging, guys, because the South Bend Cubs put themselves in exactly the position they needed to go out and clinch that second-half playoff spot, winning 3 consecutive series over Fort Wayne, Beloit, the team they have continued to chase here, and then the Cedar Rapids Colonels, the first-half playoff team for the West Division. So you feel pretty good about yourselves. Not only do you have a series win against your in-state rival, you got a series win against the first-place team that you're trying to leapfrog, and then you got a series win against the team that Luke just referred to that you're going to play in the first round if you make the playoffs, right? So it's especially stinging. You get swept in Peoria, not just because that's a Cardinals affiliate, right? But also, the Chiefs, they quite frankly were one of the worst teams in the Midwest League in the second half. But tell you what, they caught fire, and they did not play like their record. The Cardinals sent them a lot of prospects that they got back from the trade deadline, including Jesus Baez, who was in the Ryan Helsley deal, and a number of other guys too. So Peoria got the help of some guys that have come in and that were hungry and that wanted to win. And it just started from a point, guys, where the Cubs were blown out in 2 games to start that series, and maybe the confidence level is down because the rest of the games in that series were pretty close and well played by the Cubs. It just so happened in the late innings, it was Peoria having that second wind, and they were able to cap off a lot of close games, including a walk-off win on that Saturday night. But, hey, that's how it goes in baseball sometimes. We've got 2 rings here in South Bend, and We know exactly how hard it is to win. I think everybody knows how hard it is to win in the minor leagues. So you got to appreciate what you got and, flip the page to next year. But until then, we're big Birds fans here in South Bend. Go get a ring, Luke.
Appreciate it. I think, BK, what you just explained can be summed up in just one phrase. Just baseball is weird.
Oh,
Weird
so
game.
weird. So weird. Just when you think you got it figured out, that's when you trip and fall.
Connor, not a playoff race necessarily to talk about in Knoxville, but certainly, and we'll hone in on an individual in a little bit, but some big individual performances. What's kind of been the storyline here over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it was a great going into the last 3 weeks of the season, playing Birmingham, had a great series in Birmingham, winning the series against the first place team, but still didn't gain very much ground in the playoff race. 7.5 games back as we're recording this episode, so not mathematically eliminated yet with a weekend and a final series left to play. So still holding on hope that there's a miracle left in store for the inaugural season here in Knoxville. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some Knoxville magic. But right now, it's just playing some good baseball still against Rocket City here this week. We've had some crazy games, even some late season weather. So it's just, getting through the season. And now that, Jason, you guys stole Jackson Wiggins, we're just we're down here hanging out.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing in Des Moines. The team is playing their best baseball of the second half right now, and unfortunately it is a little bit late when you're in a 20-team league and you're 15 games out by virtue of a team you haven't played all season long, being 20-some games over 500. But the individuals have continued to play well. The I-Cubs hadn't won a series since that wraparound series on July 4th that started at home and then finished in Omaha until they took the last three in Las Vegas to win that series 4-2 over the Aviators, who won the first half in the PCL. And they've come home and at the time of this recording, won 6 straight, including 3 in a row over Omaha as well. And so it's been a really encouraging stretch here, and you just want to see how long they can kind of ride this momentum toward the end. Jackson Wiggins showing up. He should pitch before this airs sometime last weekend. And that'll certainly be something that carries the headlines here for a couple of weeks. Jonathan Long is trying to become the first Iowa Cub with 90 or more RBI since 2011. Carlos Perez has 25 home runs. That's the most in a season since 2011. So there are some fun individual storylines. Connor Noland is trying to get to double-digit wins. He's already thrown something like 50 more innings than any other pitcher in an Iowa Cubs uniform this year. And part of that is AAA just cycling through bodies on the mound. But part of that is Connor just posting every single week and giving you a quality 4 or 5 innings. So a lot of storylines to watch. We've got a couple of weeks after you guys wrap up, and hopefully some of those guys are then heading and trending toward helping the big league team in October. All right, let's hone in on some of these individual players who've had a big couple of weeks. In Myrtle Beach, I just got corrected by Rich, our favorite photographer down in Arizona, that it's Angel Cepeda, not Angel, as I'd been saying in the updates all year. But Angel Cepeda is somebody you wanted to talk about in Myrtle, Luke.
Yeah, Angel Angel, he's told me specifically, it's whatever. He said people call him Angel, people call him Angel. He told me officially we'll go with Angel. So that's what I've been rocking with. We'll see if that changes over the coming years for him. But his season has certainly changed. You go back to the very beginning of the year, he had some good at-bats, hitting the ball hard, but felt like early in the season he was just getting unlucky. When he would hit one on the nose, right at somebody. And the average just kind of lagged behind, was hovering around 200 all year. Really turned the page at the beginning of August 1st to now hitting right around 350. We've seen the power numbers come up. He's been the everyday shortstop in that span, playing a good third base as well when not at that shortstop spot, but he's been holding down that position. He's really smooth defensively. You know, when you go over the scouting report when he was signed out of the Dominican Republic, the defense was a little bit lacking. They were excited to see him take strides. Well, D'Angelo Jimenez, the bench coach, works with these infielders every day. Jimenez was an 8-year big leaguer, and D'Angelo, just the infield guru, and he has seen a bunch of strides with a bunch of guys, Angel Cepeda being one of the main ones. Ty Saldazine and Angel Cepeda have been lights out up the middle as the everyday shortstop and second baseman. And the bats really come around for Angel. We've seen a lot of power as of late. He hit one out over the bleacher seating and left to lead off this series. That was a game in which he had 3 hits. All of them went for extra bases, 2 doubles and the home run, 4 RBIs. He's been driving in runs left and right. He's been swinging a hot bat, and it's been a lot of fun to watch the development of Angel Cepeda in this second.
From offense to the pitching side of things, BK, you've talked about a few different bullpen members, I think, this year, and you had another one on your mind today.
No doubt, Grayson Moore, the former Vanderbilt man, has really starred for us guys out of our bullpen, and especially in the second half. Up until the point of recording, the last night where we recorded this, Grayson Moore gave up his first earned run since July 2nd, but he did have a consecutive scoreless inning streak of 14 and 2/3 straight innings. That does not happen on accident, guys, and it actually spelled from a tough appearance on July 2nd in Peoria, where he gave up 5 runs. That was a season high and just something we were not used to seeing out of Grayson Moore, who has been with the Cubs all season. He was in South Bend for a cup of coffee last year before going down with a season-ending injury. He came back this season. Honestly, we didn't really know what to expect because last season in spurts he was very good, but coming back from as serious of an injury that he had, you just never know, especially with a short inning bullpen arm. But the guy has really led South Bend's bullpen guys this season and has been a lockdown closer at times. He's been a great setup man. He's 4 for 4 on saves. But again, that consecutive scoreless inning streak, 14 and 2/3 straight. He had not given up an earned run since July 2nd up until September 4th. And again, that's no accident. It's a guy really finding it with his arsenal, throwing 97, 98 miles per hour. He's a power pitcher, but he can also slow you down with a very slow, almost ephus-looking 72, 73 mile per hour curveball. So he's kind of got both ends of the spectrum there. And he also works in a really nice changeup that he likes to throw against righties as well. Early in the season, he was probably walking more than he would like. He's got 20 walks in just north of 30 innings, but a good majority of those free passes, guys, came early in the season. He's been locked down good. So I would imagine Connor and Richie and Mick are going to be seeing him in Knoxville next season, and he's going to be a big part of that bullpen because he's been with South Bend all year and has been fabulous for the Cubs locking down games.
We're going to keep seesawing back and forth from hitters to relievers here. And in Double-A, a guy that I thought there was a chance we might see in Des Moines before the end of the year, and we're running out of time, but with Ben Cowles being DFA'd and claimed by the White Sox, there's certainly an infield spot available here in Des Moines. So I'm curious if that happens, but Pedro Ramirez is having a great year.
That is right, Jason. And BK, you got me all excited here for a second. I love my pitching, but yes, got to flip it back over to the hitting side. And to be honest, the hitting wasn't going great for Pedro during the first 2 weeks of August. And this is a guy who led the Southern League in hits for almost 2 straight months in the middle of the season. And now he's kind of shaken off the rust from those first couple of weeks of August, maybe some fatigue, because he's also a guy who was playing every single day, only one day off in the first half, and has started up a scorching hot September and turned it on in the late parts of August. And in September now, just in this first series, 7 for 10 as we're recording this episode. So Southern League Player of the Weeks, watch out. I think he could be a good candidate for that one as we head to the weekend. But yeah, Pedro Ramirez has turned it back on. He's been a bright spot on the defensive side, no matter where you put him, at the hot corner or second base. Just love to have him in the lineup, a gap-to-gap hitter, just really, really fun to watch. There's never a dull moment when Pedro Ramirez is on.
Well, we're going to keep doing this. I'm going to go back to the bullpen, and I think we've talked a lot about the prospects that you would expect to hear about in Des Moines this year. So I kind of approach this as somebody who I think has a decent shot to help the big league club at some point if needed. And that's going to be a reliever who has a lot of time in the big leagues. Honestly, he's not a household name, but Zach Pop signed by the Cubs to a minor league deal. He's been in the big leagues with Miami, Toronto, Seattle, and the Mets. He was with the Mariners and the Mets this year for a combined 5 games. He's had a lot of success in the big leagues, but this year, sort of a struggle for him. He allowed 12 runs in just under 8 innings of work in the big leagues, but the Cubs signed him. He showed up. He has a 98-mile-an-hour sinker with a wipeout breaking ball, and Marty Peavy is really excited to have this guy. He's thrown for us 5 times now and allowed 1 run in sort of a meaningless situation that never really got out of hand. The other day, he had 2 on base, nobody out, struck out 2 of the final 3 hitters of the inning, and it's sort of a whippy 3/4 sidearm action at 98. So it's really tough on hitters, and I'm not saying that he could go up and probably not going to be the setup man or the closer in Chicago. Those spots are pretty well locked down, but somebody that could certainly give you an inning or 2 in a big spot as you try to save some arms at the end of the regular season building toward October. And Marty Peavy just told me like this guy, he has it, and hitters tell you when a guy is tough to hit. And how many times do hitters look awful when Zach Pop is on the mound? And it's basically every time. There's some awkward emergency hacks and odd swings and misses that you don't see from guys normally. So I think Zach Pop is a guy to keep an eye on as the I-Cubs have started to add these veteran guys at the end of the AAA season. Joe Ross is here. Austin Gomber made a great start for us the other day. Jackson Wiggins is on the other end of that spectrum, but Nicky Lopez is here. The Cubs testing the waters on Billy Hamilton. So there's a lot of those guys who are coming around that they obviously think would have the ability to help in October. But I think Zach Pop is certainly somebody that you could see in the Cubs bullpen before the end of the season. Now let's move into some more fun and talk about some of the big plays here over the last couple of weeks. And in Myrtle Beach, again, Luke has had the pick of the litter there, but a special moment on the road in Fayetteville.
Yeah, we kind of prefaced it Thursday on the road this past week. In Fayetteville, the Birds got it done, and you couldn't really ask for a better situation for how they clinched. They did so with their league-leading 8th shutout in the second half, a 7-0 ball game that they jumped ahead 5-0 early in the ball game, so it never really looked back. It was a game where you look at the top of the card, guys that you could talk about time in and time out, both top 30 prospects, with Kane Kepley, the second-rounder out of North Carolina, scoring 3 runs. Well, Ty Salazine, who's very capable of being the leadoff man himself, also scored 3 runs right behind him. So the top of the card did a lot of damage. Matt Hallback, who is top 3 in this league in runs batted in, nearing the 70 threshold this season. He drove in 3 in that game. So just good offensive showings. And on the mound, it was exciting as well because we saw some new young faces. 22-year-old 6'8" southpaw and Pierce Capola, the 7th-round pick out of Florida this year by the Cubs. He got his first start in that game, and it was a short leash for him. He went 3 innings, and they were 3 one-hit scoreless frames. He struck out a career-high 5, did have 3 walks mixed in there, but he looked sharp, and then he passed it off to the bullpen, who kept the shutout intact. Saw a few different names. Yoel Sierra is one of those names that has kind of crept up into this bullpen, throwing consistently in the upper 90s. I think it was 2 or 3 times that he hit triple digits in that game. So some exciting individual performances, but as a team, it was really cool to get to watch them celebrate down on the field. And it was good to see, clinching 9 games left in the season at that point. They turned around and they said, let's head back to business. It was a quick celebration. They cleared out the clubhouse, got to enjoy the night, and then it was back to business the next day, and they've been playing good baseball.
Was that your first ever visit to Fayetteville, North Carolina?
It was, with that very undulant wall out there. We had to take a picture and send that to Richie. That's his dream wall in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
All right, let's talk about a fun moment for you guys in South Bend in which a hitter kind of assaulted some of your equipment there.
Yeah, assault period, for sure, for Edgar Alvarez on a home run hit on August 24th, guys. You're going to see the video here, but Edgar Alvarez hits a home run over the right center field wall. The ball goes right off the Four Winds Field scoreboard, and you see the panel of the scoreboard just go fully black with it getting knocked out due to the sheer power of that Edgar Alvarez homer. So that's not the only thing that happened. Obviously, it's a big home run for Edgar Alvarez, his 9th. He's been great this season with the South Bend Cubs, 8th-round pick last year out of Nichols State. He's been here all year long and has been a huge part of the South Bend Cubs' success, especially in the second half. So add another layer to the fact that my boss, South Bend Cubs assistant general manager Chris Hagstrom, just decides in the middle of the game to fix the scoreboard and take a ladder and climb up and take a new panel of the scoreboard, fix it, and it looks good as new as Chris takes it and repairs that scoreboard. Well, you still got a broken piece of scoreboard, right? So he then runs down to the field, hands it to Edgar Alvarez as he's coming in from the outfield to hit in an inning, and says, "This is for you." And he gives Edgar Alvarez the broken piece of video board. And, somebody, what do you expect them to do with a broken piece of video board? Edgar gives it to our hitting coach, Nate Spears, a former big leaguer with the Boston Red Sox. And it sort of becomes an omen where the broken piece of video board, Edgar got a really nice picture with it, big smile. And the Cubs took it on the road, turned it into like a turnover chain that you see on a football sideline, and then used it for the home run celebration where a guy took the chain and it had the broken piece of scoreboard on it. So a home run set up a new trophy, I guess, for the South Bend Cubs here late in the season, and guys who come back in the dugout after a homer get a giant piece of metal that they can wrap around their neck. It's just baseball things, boys.
That's a feel-good story, supreme. So thanks for sharing that good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff going on in South Bend this year. Let's talk about a former South Bend Cub, a former Myrtle Beach Pelican, now in Knoxville. Ethan Hearn had a big hit for the Smokies.
Yeah, Ethan Hearn did. And this is not the first time he's been in the spotlight here in Knoxville. A walk-off just a couple of nights ago. Now, the third walk-off he's been involved in all season long. He walked it off on Harry Potter night. He was at the plate during a walk-off wild pitch just last month. And now this season, I mean, he gets his third walk-off appearance. And to give you a quick backstory, the night before, we were shut out by Rocket City, the worst team currently in the Southern League. So that one really hurt. And then the next day, this game was delayed by over 2 hours. First pitch was at 9:02 p.m. Eastern time due to a bunch of rain here in Knoxville. So finally started, they said, all right, we're only going to play 7 innings. So another tough night for the Smokies. Only one hit on the scoreboard, down 1-0 heading into the bottom of the 7th. Tied the game, only to then give up 3 runs in the top of the 8th. Then you fast forward, bottom of the 8th. Ethan Hearn came in from the bullpen. He was the bullpen catcher for 7 innings. But due to some pinch running situations, cold turkey off the bench, first at bat, bases loaded after the baton has been handed throughout 8 guys in the lineup. 3 walks have spurred this rally. Tie ball game, bases loaded. Ethan Hearn with a jam shot single into shallow right field finally sends us home just before the stroke of midnight. And his shirt, again, was gone in instants. This guy loves the Gatorade showers. After we were talking to him after, he's like, man, you just got to enjoy the moment. It doesn't happen a lot. So he's always sitting there waiting for it, and they'll rip his shirt off immediately. He's probably my favorite walk-off candidate. And he promised a backflip on the next walk-off. It didn't happen, but he said maybe in the offseason. So that's where we'll leave.
All right, the moment in Des Moines, I mentioned the win streak a moment ago, but it all doesn't happen if not for the second game in the win streak. 9th inning in Las Vegas, where anything is possible. I think 5 runs scored in an inning is kind of common there. We had an 8-8 game after 3 innings, but it's Saturday night, August 30th. In the 9th, top of the 9th, the closer is in for Las Vegas. The I-Cubs are down by a run. They end up loading the bases thanks to a great at-bat by Forrest Wall, who drew a walk after it was 1-2 on the veteran outfielder. So he gets on. Bases are loaded for the 9-hitter Hayden Cantrell, who is 0 for 3 in the game with 3 strikeouts. A couple of those came on a challenge, one that he lost, one that the catcher used against him on what was initially called ball 4. The closer for Las Vegas is walk 2 already, so they have a mound visit. Hayden steps in, has not hit a grand slam in the course of his professional career with 3 different organizations so far. And he told me, look, I'm going up there expecting he's going to try to throw a fastball for a strike in this spot with the game on the line. Jumps on the first pitch and hits a grand slam over the swimming pool in right center field. First career grand slam. The I-Cubs end up holding on to win the game, despite giving up a run in the bottom half of the 9th inning. But if not for that grand slam, the first ever for Hayden Cantrell, the I-Cubs aren't on a 6-game win streak. They don't have a series win yet since July, and certainly a feel-good moment. A lot of people felt that way about a switch hitter who's been working really hard in the cage and with the hitting coaches. So one of those signature feel-good moments in what's been a very disappointing and frustrating second half for the Iowa Cubs. Well, that'll do it for us on the marquee side, as we wish Myrtle Beach good luck in the postseason and a quality finish to the year. For everybody else, we'll again meet in a couple of weeks here in our last week of the AAA season, but we'll keep up the shenanigans over on the Iowa Cubs YouTube side as we talk a little bit more about the NFL and some other fun questions coming up. But thanks again, guys, and best of luck, Luke, in Myrtle Beach.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's dive into the NFL getting underway. And it's kind of a 2-part question. Who do you think is going to play for the Super Bowl? Who do you want to play in the Super Bowl if you had everything go your way? Anybody want to get started?
I'll start it off only because before I dive into my prediction, I have to mention yesterday. Oh boy, what do we?
Oh no!
Chiefs?
Oh no!
Getting it back.
Great.
We're getting it back.
That's no fun. But yesterday we sent Richie down to do an in-game interview with Walker Powell, and it was in the top of the 3rd inning. He pitched the day before. He was in the middle of a fantasy draft doing this interview. Apparently, he was in between. Like, the inning was so fast, he didn't even miss a pick between the 3rd and the 4th rounds. But to answer your question, Jason, I think I don't even know who I think it should be, but I know I'm rooting for the Falcons. I don't know why. That's the team I picked early on. Dirty Birds, let's go. Michael Penix's first year in the offense, so I'm excited to see what he's able to turn it into. So who knows? Maybe the Falcons pull out a little magic. The division's looking a little shaky this year.
Luke, do you want to go ahead and just get this over with?
Yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. Big Chiefs guy, have been since a little kid. I was here pre Patrick Mahomes and pre Taylor Swift. Not saying those are bad things. I like me some Patrick Mahomes, and I can rock with some Taylor Swift. I'm no Sam Weiderhaft on the Taylor Swift front. I've heard some stories that this booth has heard a lot of Taylor Swift in its time. Not as much anymore, but maybe as this football season rolls on, we'll see some. My prediction, I'm going to got to stick with my Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs over Lions in the Super Bowl this year.
So I cover the Colts in the offseason, and I can't guarantee that Daniel Jones is going to take the Colts to the promised land. That's probably more than likely not going to happen. But I think it'd be sick if we got a part two being from Chicago of Bears versus Colts. I think that Super Bowl was so iconic, not just because Devin Hester ran back the opening touchdown and then Peyton Manning as a legacy game, and oddly he's playing Rex Grossman. So I think it'd be cool to see Bears Colts, but listen, guys, this is the NFL of 2025. This is going to be chalky as hell. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a rematch. I can't say I'm rooting for Luke, but after last year, I think Kansas City deserves something because, boy, that was tough.
It was ugly. That one hurt.
First of all, Kansas City deserves nothing. They've had plenty. So I'm going to stop that. And my dream matchup would be, I would love it if Luke's Chiefs were there, taking on the team that beat them in the first Super Bowl, the glorious Green Bay Packers, and the Packers able to take care of that. Micah Parsons certainly excited me a little bit last week. That was a nice trade acquisition that the Packers have never done historically. So I'm looking forward to seeing him become the next Reggie White. That's the way to go. But I think, because I never think the Packers are going to win because they've disappointed me in the playoffs so many times, I think it might be Buffalo finally getting over the hump. And I'm going to say Buffalo-Detroit, as much as I would hate that. It's always fun when the Lions are just – now they think they're good, and their fans have sort of embraced that attitude after two good regular seasons. But I could see Bills-Lions being a matchup. All right, one other question. This is related to Richie. Is there anything important that you've ever been late for or missed completely through fault of your own? And I don't think I have, and people make fun of me that know me well because on getaway day on the road or when there's a bus to catch, I have this very large checklist of things, and I set about 15 alarms 5 minutes after one another to not miss the 6 a.m. team flight, etc. But I do always, every March before the season starts, I never know when it's going to happen, but I have one nightmare where I show up at the stadium and the game's already going on, or I can't find a piece of my equipment that's essential to being on air, and then I wake up in a cold sweat, and then I know we have baseball in about 3 days. But if any of you miss something by just misreading a time like Richie Giuliano did, or have you ever missed something that was completely your fault that you should have been at?
I'll go a little bit of a different direction here. I have it ingrained into my mind back before I could drive, going to a basketball game with my parents. My dad's driving. We're going roughly 30 minutes away to a place we usually play at, and we are a chronic early group. It's if you're 15 minutes early, you are late in the Maley household. And so that's been a good thing to have ingrained. But when we were on the way, we're about to pull in the parking lot, and I go, I don't have my shoes. So did not miss a game, but I remember the sheer panic of having to go back and get shoes, considering as a dumb young kid, I was just wearing slides in the car. So wasn't going to be able to play in those.
Yeah, I have one that I think is more along the lines of answering your question, Jason, and it still haunts me to this day. So I went and played D3 baseball up in the Pacific Northwest at Linfield University, middle of nowhere, Oregon. And it gets cold in the mornings, especially in the fall when our coach likes running us out for 6 a.m. football stairs, all as a team. So I, like you, Jason, and I'm needing 15 different alarms to feel even comfortable the night before and like, okay, I'm going to get up for this. So that's typically the process. For whatever reason, on one random weekend day where we had to do stairs at 6 a.m. in the morning, I find myself kind of naturally waking up. So I'm like, okay, I must be early. I look at my phone. It's like 6:23, so this can't be good. So I'm about 3 blocks away from the football field, panicking to throw different clothes on, sprinting all the way to the center of the football field, and coming out of the fog, I see the entire team all huddled around the coach. So I know it's not good. And then I get there and I just hear everyone go quiet. And he's like, Nelly, did you just come out of the shadows? Fortunately, yeah. He's like, were you here the whole time? I was like, well, you didn't even notice? I shouldn't have showed up. Yeah, so that one really hurt. Told him it'd never happen again, and it never did, thankfully. So it still haunts me, though. That's a brutal one. The instant panic of being 23 minutes late to your 30-minute running.
So I've got one that has haunted me pretty good, too. So in college, I was in a fraternity. Now, I didn't go to like an SEC school. It wasn't anything crazy. It was a good experience. I wouldn't change it for the world. Everything was great. But obviously, in a fraternity, no matter where you pledge, you go through pledgeship, and that's 8 weeks where you have to do stuff and learn stuff, and then in order to get initiated, you have to take legitimately a written final exam, and you have to pass it. So through the last week of pledgeship, I won't give too many details, but you don't get a lot of sleep. So I didn't get a lot of sleep the last week. So Saturday night, we were up very late doing some shenanigans. And then Sunday was the exam. Initiation was Sunday. And I was very tired. So I woke up at 6 a.m. on Sunday because we had to go do something. And then there was a there was a pause between the activity on Sunday morning and then the exam, which was like at noon. So I decided I'm going to rip a nap. So I thought I set a million alarms. I was like, all right, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go pass this exam and then I'm going to get initiated. Well, I set the alarms for PM. So I slept through, and in my freshman dorm at Butler, I got this random guy knocking on my door. And I said, what are you here for? He goes, your buddy called me and said you have to be at the house right now. So I end up being like 45 minutes late to the last exam. I walk into the basement where everybody is taking their exams, and I walk in, and like Connor says, dead silent. The guy in charge of the pledge education or whatever stands up. He goes, sit down. I said, oh man, this is not good. So I sit down, and then he goes, what happened? I said, I overslept, and I thought I was getting dropped at this point. Like, they threatened to drop me. I was like, am I really going to get dropped from pledgeship on the last day where I've already been through the worst? And they acted like I was getting dropped. So they take me upstairs. And they say, all right, hey, it's totally cool. We understand. But we want you to go back downstairs and we want you to act like you got dropped. And I go back downstairs, and in front of the 37 guys I pledged with, I'm like trying fake tears, alligator tears. And it's like, guys, I got dropped. And then the whole bit's over, and then everybody starts cheering. And yeah, I was 45 minutes late to the last pledge exam my freshman year of college. Life flashed before my eyes.
Maybe on a future episode after dark, you'll go into the shenanigans for us instead of just glossing over that fact.
Maybe next year.
All right, last question for you, and this will be another odd one. Have you ever been in a spot or like a place where you felt you didn't belong, like out of place? And I'm going to tell you what I mean, because when we went to Las Vegas last week, I walked into this hotel that we're staying at, and I'm like, this is not any place I will ever go again or would ever be able to do on my own. And it was right next to the ballpark, and it's the hotel where the visiting NFL teams stay to play the Raiders when they're in Las Vegas. It has a full casino on the second floor with a food court and about 6 other restaurants that will cost at least $100 to step inside. There was a spa in there. There was a Starbucks. There was a separate floor for banquet halls. Myself and Marty Peavy, our manager, got lost on the Monday off day going to get lunch. Marty said he took 10,000 steps finding his way back to his room. And I did a little bit of math. And apparently for an average person not with a baseball team to go there, it comes out to about $965 a night for the room that I was in, which times 7 means that I will never stay there ever again. But and I felt like every person I walked past was certainly judging me because I could feel like they probably could tell that I had no business being there. But have you ever been in a situation like that where you were like, yeah, I definitely don't belong here? And I know this is a very classy group of people, so I'm not trying to say that, but have you ever found yourself feeling that way?
Well, hold on. Can we get a comment on if you were up or down on the trip, or if there was any activity there?
So, sure, you absolutely can. I am exactly where I was when I started because one of the fundamental points of gambling, if you don't want to end up homeless, is that you have to have money to start with. And so I did not feel comfortable even broaching that topic. Now, I'm not going to name names, but I know that there were some players on the team who probably left down by a significant amount. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to ask you off air. I have a guess.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you off air.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, honestly, I've never really had one of those experiences. Probably a good thing. I would say I'm going to kind of twist the question here. The most unique road trip I've ever had in baseball, I'll go there, was up to Vancouver, British Columbia. It was my first time in Canada. And I remember going through like immigration for the first time. And it was funny because the whole bus had to go through, everybody had to get off the bus, go through immigration themselves. And then the immigration guys checked the bus. And I just remember I took a PS4 on the road that year in Boise. And I remember I had the PS4 in kind of like a, not like suspicious, but weird looking bag. I was like, I wonder if they're going to check that and take my PS4 away. So yeah, I just remember going through immigration with the entire team and how that was kind of weird. And you're like in the immigration office, the walls are gray and it's just lifeless. And this is the weirdest thing I've ever been a part of. And I don't like half of these guys. I don't even know. I'm going through immigration. I don't know half of these people. So if they ask me questions about these guys, I'm not going to have any idea. So yeah, that was weird.
I did that when I was in Wichita. We took a bus up to Winnipeg, which was a 12-hour trip. And I was in charge of making sure that everybody had their passport and could get through the border. So I knew way too much about our guys, but I had to get like their full legal name. And if anybody had a DUI or anything at any point, we had to leave them at the border and get them on the way back. So we would sign like random guys just to play in Canada and then pick up all of the convicts on the way back out of the border. But yeah, they would take you off the bus and then they'd come on the bus. We did this in Laredo, Texas too. And they would check. And I know the Venezuelan guys always had a tough time where their passport didn't quite match up, and it was a complete mess. But I'm glad you got to experience that as well.
Luke, you got one?
I got one. I'm going to do the same, twist it a little bit. Not really a specific place, but I remember when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and my dad at the time was playing in a beer league men's softball, so I'm there just hanging out, and my dad was like, well, do you want to come out in the field? And so I take my glove, and I'm just standing beside him over at third base. And, there's some dudes at this point that it's like, they're hitting it way too hard for me. Like, I want no part of this. I'm scared of this softball. And we're standing there at third base, and there's a pop-up that goes up in the air, and I'm feeling out of place. And, it's all my dad. I'm off to the side, but I'm kind of shadowing him, kind of like following the ball. And I'll never forget, I'm in slides again, back to the slides. And my
Fashion.
dad, yeah, something like that, or lack thereof of fashion. But my dad's looking up at it, and he takes a step backwards, and his feet give out, and he falls down. And my dad's a big guy, but he's athletic, in good shape, and hits the deck, and I just reach over the top of him and just underhand catch it right above his chest. And, everyone goes crazy. He's like the random young little kid on the softball field. They got an extra defender. This isn't fair. But that one I held above my dad's head for quite some time. It's always been a funny inside joke.
So somehow you turned this into a question of how you felt uncomfortable into.
Well, I felt very out of place to begin with, but I guess we settled in quickly.
Yeah, it turned into how great you are. I don't know how you did that. That was pretty good.
Well, mine kind of similar to yours, Jason, and it does not end with how great I am, unfortunately. We took the trip to Biloxi. I turned 21 late in college. So, I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, but didn't get to experience any of this big casino type energy. And Biloxi is just this casino destination. I don't know why. I don't know if anybody has a reason. I was trying to look for one and ask for people why. It seems like they had nothing going on. So they're just planting casinos in there. They got a spawner. But yeah, walking in there, I felt a little out of place. I was actually just looking for dinner on the first night, and it was like the first place on maps that came up super close so I could walk there. And then I walk into kind of similar like you. It's just this big extravagant plaza. I'm seeing, you could walk to the right and spend $100 in a restaurant. You could walk to the left and lose $100 just for playing fun. So yeah. And long story short, did not end with how great I am, and should have taken your advice there at the beginning, Jason.
Leave the stipend money in that folder.
That's right. That's right. You know what? I feel like we've all been in baseball clubhouses, and it's pretty easy and comfortable to like be in there. But I was once in an NBA locker room after a preseason game for the Bucks. That is not a place that I feel like I belong. I mean, everybody's 8 feet tall, and it's a completely different atmosphere than it is in a baseball clubhouse. I don't know if BK or Luke, you've ever, or Connor, but that is a whole nother world.
Well, I'm actually about to be in one. To have some news, wasn't planning to break it right here, but I'll be doing some work with the Jazz in this off season, so I will be experiencing that. They have like their whole roster is 6'8", so yeah, I'm going to be looking up my neck. I'm going to have to do a whole lot of neck exercises this winter.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I've been covering the Colts and the Pacers in the offseason, been all over those locker rooms. I would say the most like foreign to me was like getting into an Indy car and like seeing the wheel. The wheel looks like a video game controller. I was like, I feel like I can drive just about anything. I can't drive an Indy because like you have to press like this button to go and this button to let down the downforce. I don't know what that means. So there's no way I can drive it.
I'm a Kansas City kid. I've never even been to an NBA game. I do follow the NBA, but I've never been. So at some point, maybe this offseason, we got to get together and head to an NBA game at some point in time if we can squeeze it in.
All right. Well, last question. Did you watch Dances with Wolves?
I have not.
That's great. Thanks a lot.
You know what?
You clinched. Hold on. You clinched a week ago. You clinched a week ago.
I know.
So these games have meant nothing.
I forgot about it.
Wow.
There we go.
No.
It's going in the calendar right now.
What if you and John Kosis of Columbia got together and just watched that maybe on Monday before the playoff series?
Sunday's a day game. We can roll into the
there you go.
On Monday or the Sunday night Dancing with Wolves.
There it is. I want to hear a report next time.
All right.
I will not forget either. I will not forget. So
it's in the calendar, slated for Monday right now, but we'll see.
All right. Perfect. Well, thanks again, guys. Best of luck finishing out the seasons. And obviously, if Myrtle Beach is the only representative in the playoffs, I'm sure we'll all be watching very closely. Boom.